All right, so before we get into practicing this exam question available on Microsoft, this is for security and compliance. And here is the exam, SC-900, Microsoft Security Compliance and Identity Fundamentals. This targeted for the people to have some basic knowledge, people coming from business, stakeholder, new or existing IT professional or students. Before I go and walk you through the practice test, what it looks like, and then you'll find out your level of expertise. So this is very important. You can also just go and memorize it depending on your role, because if you're going to be in a pre-sales or sales role, you don't really need to know all the technical details. But if you really wanted to take your career seriously, if you want to go to the next level, then of course this will give you a very good idea about security and compliance. As I said, there are a very different level of variations of the career, and it also requires to have the familiarity with Microsoft Azure and Microsoft 365, which is Microsoft Entra. And there will be some questions. Understand how Microsoft SCI solution can span across multiple services end to end, blah, blah, blah. And then the skills measured is very important. You have to understand the concept of security, Microsoft Entra, which is Azure. So it's an Entra now, Microsoft Security Solutions, and 25% come from Microsoft Compliance. The 40% you can expect come from Microsoft Solutions. What are those? I don't know. I did not take this test before. As I said, I'll just do it on the fly and expect I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. But I'm going to be explaining you if the question is right, why it is right. If it's wrong, we'll find out. So if you can do the self-study for yourself, all these areas like security solutions, which has 40% of the exam content. And when you come here, you need to learn what are the feature and capabilities available, like DDoS is available, Azure Firewall, Web Application Firewall. Azure also give you, or Azure or Microsoft Entra, basically, it should be Entra. Network security segmentation, network security group or NSGs. Bayesian host is to remote desktop, basically Azure Key Vault for encryption. And here is the knowledge check, and goes to the second one and third one here. Sentinel, as I know, I have put so many tutorials, Sentinels, deep dive, but here are the some concepts which will help you understand what is a SIEM versus SOAR, describe the detection and mitigation capabilities, what is Microsoft Security Copilot, which is very interesting, and XDR. So XDR is endpoint detection and remediation. That endpoint could be of any type. That's why it says XDR. But those who are familiar, it's used to be EDR, endpoint. But here, endpoint can be anything, which is Defender for cloud, Defender for identity, Defender for vulnerability management, blah, blah, blah. These are just the high level knowledge you need to know. But in the field of information and cybersecurity, people get hired just for the vulnerability management program at a very senior level, who reports to the VP of security or even to the CISO of an organization. But here the expectation is very, very high level. So security copilot, I'm still waiting to find out and get some more detail from Microsoft, but definitely from career perspective, it is important, and how security pilot is going to help for the security posture management, incident response, and all that. So there will be a knowledge check. So there isn't much enough in this. So I will go back to this one. So let's get started. So which functionality is provided by Microsoft Entra? As I said, Microsoft Entra is Microsoft Azure. So encryption of data at rest, defense in depth, or single sign-on. Well, which functionality is provided by Microsoft Entra? Like So Azure is known for identity, and the most closest out of these four when it comes to identity is single sign-on. And then of course these are additional services, but Microsoft is known, Entra is known for identity. So this is where I will select this one. If I want, I can check the answer for the sake of this tutorial, and we'll find out. And as I said, I will be making mistakes because I have not taken it before. We'll find out. All right, so here you go. It's correct. Uh, is one perimeter of defense of depth. Microsoft Entra does not provide file services. So this can also be an exam question. What it does not provide, so you have to know it does not provide file services and does not provide the encryption of data in transit. Okay, so Microsoft Entra does not provide, which is, I believe, encryption of data in transit is, we are talking about TLS. If you need more information to learn about it, click on it. Then it brings you the page for Entra ID, and this is the Entra ID. So that's in a nutshell what it tells you when it comes to, and of course you can improve, and it's a whole area about identity and access management. Now we'll go to the next question. What is the minimum addition of Microsoft Entra need to use Microsoft Entra Privileged Identity Management? So again, either you can memorize it or you need to really understand what is PIM, Privileged Identity Management. So if you want to be an identity architect or identity and access management architect, identity architect, there are many positions available in any cloud like Microsoft, Azure, GCP, but if you're talking about Microsoft now, so if you want to be a Microsoft Azure architect for identity or Microsoft Entra architect, then you literally know the weeds, get into the details, B2B, consumer and all that, all those details. But if you need to know very high level knowledge, as I said, for this certification, along those lines, but still you need to know what is privileged identity management is, means um, if you want to do some privileged work, means if you want to do some admin level activity. So that's where the PIM comes into the action, and it has further more details and requirement. So I know there are different subscription. Of course, in free subscription, it's not available. And for external ID, it's not even applicable because you don't want external people. So only options are left is Entra P1 or P2, or I believe premium level of licensing. They cost more, and I believe it's only available in P2, not P1. So let's see if my answer is correct or not. Yes, it's on T2. So again, here you go, and then you can learn about P2, Entra ID protection, provide risk-based conditional access, privileged identity management to help discover, restrict, monitor administrator and their access to resources just in time when needed. Yes, so if you want to give somebody an access to manage your Microsoft Exchange server, manage your team, manage your SharePoint for 2 hours, you give them the access for 2 hours, and after 2 hours their access will be expired. This is very, very important feature, and you can go further details if you really wanted to learn more about it. Go to the next one. Which type of identity should you use to allow Azure Virtual Machine to access Azure storage without having to handle password changes manually? Um, that's a tough one. Which type of identity? So user for sure not, device for sure not, because you don't want normal user and devices. This is not applicable. Now we have service principal and manage identity. So you need to know service principal is kind of an advanced version of service account, I believe, and manage identity is an enhanced version of identity management. Handle password changes manually means you don't have to handle the password change management. So I'll go with manage identity because it rings my bell. But if you really need to know what it is, then we'll find out. But let's check the answer first. Okay, good enough. Now, manage identity, if you want to do, you can discuss and workload and all that. So where you don't have to change, and I think there's a key rotation or something along those lines. You can further dig into that, how these things work, and how do you manage your workloads, the type of service principal that are automatically managed, blah, 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 in whatever to manage credential. Yeah, this is very important because usually the developer, they use clear text password, they use username and password. If you don't want to give a developer username and password, you want to use manage identity is Entra. And again, this is security best practices, definitely is highly recommended. So again, if you're in security compliance and all that, um, if, on a junior level, something you just need to know manage identity. But if you really like it and want to know how does it work, then read it. And if you need to become an engineer, then you must also know how to implement it. You need to allow external access to shared resource hosted in your Azure tenant. You plan to use monthly user billing. You need to ensure that you are not charged for 50,000 monthly active user per month. What is the minimum edition of Microsoft Entra you can use? I don't know. I will blindly select this one because free is not possible, external again. And monthly active user billing, you're not charged. So means if you use managed, if you use monthly active user for the first 50,000 user, you will not be charged if you use P2, if you're a large organization. And you need to allow external users to share resources. So if you have a user outside your organization, it could be, I believe, B2B or B2C. It does not say here, but it should be outside your organization. And it could be a customer facing application, mobile app, along those lines, whichever the scenario is. You will not be charged for 50,000 monthly active user. I will go with that because this is where Microsoft thinks they want to buy you P2. Let's see. Oh, wow. I did not know. So P1, okay. So P1 also give you that option. B2B collaboration, as I said, means if you are a company, Microsoft, if you want to collaborate with Coca-Cola, so Microsoft.com, Coca-Cola, collaboration, B2B collaboration or connect and preview. So this is what it explained, what kind of identity federation you can have. And it allows with the P1. Okay, so good to know. So knowledge refresher for myself. What type of identity is used for identifying an application? Okay, so this is a good one. So device and user take it out because they are not applicable at all. So we have to find out from service principal and manage identity. So how do you find an application? Which type of Microsoft identity? So manage identity, we just talked about it, and use where you need to share resources and you don't want developers to give them any user and password. So this is where manage identity will be applicable. So in that case, only service principal, in my opinion, is the correct answer, because Microsoft identity will be used to identify an application because you can tie a service principal to an application and you can do further reading on that. Yes. And then you need to go back, manage identity, and you have to have application and service principal. Again, same concept here, but you need to understand all these things. Next, an organization is migrating to Microsoft Cloud. The plan is used to hybrid identity model. What can be used to sync Microsoft use identity between Azure, between Active Directory domain service and Microsoft? Okay, I know the answer. I've done it in the past. So basically, first you need to understand the hybrid. Hybrid means your organization which already have Windows Active Directory and Microsoft Active Directory setup infrastructure, which is very common. You want to make a hybrid connection in the cloud for various purposes. It can be for if you want to have a SQL server in the cloud, and you may have a couple of SQL server on premises, or you have some VMs on premises in the cloud. Whichever type of your setup is, you may want to run backup in the cloud, and you have Windows Server and you want to do backup, and you want to use the same ID. The most common scenario for this type is Microsoft Exchange. It used to be huge in demand back in 2016, where you think of any company like KPMG, Bank of America, any health insurance, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, you name it. They all used to have on-premises Microsoft Exchange. Most of the cases, most of these companies, they run on Microsoft Exchange. Now everybody runs on Microsoft 365. Majority of them. I'm not saying 100%, but majority of them. So if they had 100,000 user, they did not want to create 100,000 user in the cloud. So this is where the concept of identity federation and on-premises and hybrid evolved. So instead of creating 100,000 accounts, you set it up a federation service. And when I said federation service, the only option we see here is Active Directory Federation Service, ADFS server. So you could deploy ADFS server, 2 servers, 4, 8, depending, for high availability. It can be deployed on premises. That's the best case scenario, but things in architecture, I'm talking about a couple of years ago, you may want to look into it if you want to be an expert in identity and access or identity management provider or a SME. Sentinel is a SIEM solution. Entra Connect is another connector basically. Okay, so I think this is Entra Connect because this is a server. We are talking about sync. For syncing, we need connect. This is for federation. So this should be the right answer. And privileged identity management, we just learned it. So let's check it out. Here you go. Right. So again, now I hope you must have got an idea in that few minutes of learning that what is expected. Again, as I said, you can go learn, memorize it, but if you really wanted to grow, you need to understand. So that's why you need to do some study. As I said, go through the material, right? And you don't really need to do the hands-on because you're not going to become an identity engineer. That's why you need to know how to set up Entra Connect, how to set up ADFS. But security and compliance, you need to know good enough. How does it work on-prem, Microsoft Entra ID? So your ID is created here. Now, same username and password is created here. You can use the same password username to access your Microsoft email, your Teams, your Outlook, anything, right? So this is a very common scenario. So hopefully it makes sense. And let me know what do you think about it. And if you like it, then I will try to some put more tutorial in the future. Thank you and bye.